Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna, Intuitive Consulting. Today I am thrilled to have with me a dear friend, Nina Roberti, who does animal communication. And I just thought what a cool, amazing topic to be able to dive into together. Because as a professional psychic medium, I do get asked if I can track and trace missing animals. And for me, I gotta say, we were just saying it right before I clicked record, an animal's consciousness is way different than a human being's consciousness. And when I do missing persons, it's so much different than a missing animal. So welcome, Nina. We got a lot to cover today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for being here. So very excited. This is Bailey, who is my co-creator here. So we are both very excited to be here. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that he's just out cold while we're doing this interview. Probably won't move an inch next to Mama.
Earlier, but I was like, okay, yes, let's get some, you can get some subscribers maybe as your cute little face, but he's out. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully he'll wake up for us. So tell me, how did you get into this and how did you realize that you had the ability to communicate with animals?
I think, as a kid, we've all probably been able to communicate with animals. And I think I probably have been doing that since a kid. Possibly, because I've always loved animals, always have wanted to have a farm with animals, which I still would like to have. But possibly, as we grow up in society, it kind of, we turn that off, right? But throughout the years, I have volunteered at many animal shelters. I've done a lot of volunteering at like equine organizations for therapeutic riding with veterans and disabled children. And it's amazing how it's just easy with the animals. Like for some reason, well, it's not, I think because we live with an open heart, but I can go to an animal shelter and able to assist a lot of the dogs or the cats or whatever that were aggressive. And I just go in, can put the leash on, take them for a walk, and it's all good. And so it's kind of like we have that open line of communication. I have been studying this for many, 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 many years. And I've had many mentors who are like, Nina, you communicate with animals so easily. And I just love animals, and so after a few courses and all that many years ago, you just start stepping into it because there's so many things that you can't make up, right? Like when all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm seeing this cat. He's showing me like an old timey blue vintage car and he's very close. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, the cat came home and outside in the parking lot, there's a blue timey old vintage car, or just numerous things like that. So it's just, you just step into it because you just can't make that up, and animals are they're such a large part of my life. And to be able to be a voice for the animal so that they're heard, is just an amazing thing to be able to do. They help us in life and assist us. And it's nice to be able to give back to them.
I truly believe that animals have such a pure resonance because they don't have ulterior motives. There's no, jealousy and conspiring to hurt another being. And, it's instinct. And I really truly believe that spirit often uses animals as vessels to communicate through them to us as well. Birds in the sky that represent, a loved one, or even dogs. I truly believe that cats and dogs can see, I think all animals can, but especially cats and dogs can see beyond the veil. And when there's a loved one, bouncing off the walls around the place, you'll see the dogs looking around or the cats looking around like there's something there. And does Bailey ever do that?
Yes, he does. I mean, my dad has passed away. And I know he sees my dad all the time, but he also sees a lot of spirits that walk through. A lot of times at Christmas time, a lot of spirits come to me because back in 2012, spirits started taking out my Christmas tree lights. And it was a way that they knew that I would get a message to their loved ones on earth. So with many mentors and just kind of diving into it. There's messages, and then I would deliver the messages. So we get a lot of spirit traffic at Christmas time. So he gets very exhausted. And yes, I see him like his face is like, okay, and it's like going and, and I know my dad's here a lot because I can feel him and I know that he tunes into him as well. But yes, they definitely see spirits and they see beyond the veil, what sometimes we're not able to see.
Oh, actually, which reminds me. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know this about me, I was a palliative oncology nurse for 13 years before I did this. And we had a resident cat at one of the hospices that I worked at. And the cat, we watched the cat. If no one was dying that day, the cat was, sitting out saying hi to everybody. But if we had someone who was getting ready to pass, that cat would lay at the end of the bed
Hmm.
purring by their feet and would not leave until that person passed. And then once we saw the cat come out of the room, we knew that person had crossed over. And it was just so bizarre how that cat knew who was going to pass that day. So, yeah, I definitely believe that animals are just pure little vessels. The other thing too, you look at a cat's purr, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
111 hertz is the resonance of a cat's purr. And so literally when a cat is on you healing you or purring on you, they're literally healing you, because of the resonance that's coming out of them.
Yeah.
So it's God's handiwork with fur. I love it.
It is, yeah. Well, and it's amazing because cats, you'll notice they can absorb like the EMF frequencies, right? So they can lay on a laptop or computer because they can absorb and transmit it, right? So they can do that. Dogs and horses, they're not able to do that because I think they're more sensitive. But yeah, cats, right? They're able to transmit all that, transmute it.
Well, and which also just reminded me of, and I've heard this numerous times, where an animal's owner will say gets cancer and so does the cat. Or cat gets cancer and then the person gets cancer, right? I truly believe, did that cat come into their life to try and pull that cancer out of them and take it on
Yes,
for them, you
yes.
know?
I
I say that because I had a little Pomeranian Hemi who I swear this dog came to me. He was my fur angel. He came to me when I was at my darkest, lowest place. And the crazy thing is, so I have chronic pain in my arms and my legs from my knees down and from my elbows down. But my right leg is way worse than my left. And what was crazy was Hemi's right leg was worse than his left. And he limped on his right leg. And it was just so bizarre to see that similarity. And it reminded me of, when cats get cancer and then so do their
yeah.
people.
Well, and I believe that a lot of animals, and it's amazing because in a lot of sessions I do energy clearing, and a lot of the emotions that I'm clearing are from the human, the guardian, and that the animal is taking on to so that they can transmit it and they may absorb it because it can probably flow through their body easier than the human. But yeah, so I believe with you as well that our animals take on a lot of energy and they take on a lot of emotions that we are not able to process, or it may get stuck in our body somewhere. And then, yes, and then it causes disease in the body or cancer or something. Yeah.
So when it comes to the healing that you do, how do you do it? What does a session look like?
So it all varies, but like I do energy healing. So it's a certification. There's many certifications that I've gotten, but I think a lot of it's innate in us, right? That we just know. Like I know the mediumship that I get that's probably come over from many past lives. But like there's energy healing. So it's a doubt that I use a pendulum. So I douse for the energy, and that goes on the physical, emotional, and mental, spiritual plane. So that could look very different depending upon what it is that we're trying to clear the energy for. Maybe if it's a rescue animal, or maybe one that is that's coming into a new home from a divorce, or or maybe that they've lost another animal in their home, or they're grieving for maybe someone has passed away. And there's all different kinds, but I'll douse and see what it is for their highest and best. And on the physical level, maybe we'll clear possibly we may activate grounding because they're not really fully planted in their bodies, or I could be doing some Bach flower essences, which Bach flower essences is a whole nother category in itself because I do a lot of Bach flower essences for thunderstorms, like with tapping, and it is amazing. It goes to the cellular level, and you will see a shift in animals that like I have never seen before, especially with thunderstorms. But Bach flower essences really helps because it is all natural. It's from the essences of the flower, but it goes to the cellular level. So just, oh my goodness, it's just like a harmonic shift. Like it just is peaceful. I do color frequencies or crystal frequencies that they may need depending upon what, because as we know, it's all related, right? Like, so maybe if they need red, their root chakra may be out of balance. And that could be the security, right? Because maybe it's a rescue animal. So it all kind of connects. But then I made clear on the emotional level, which I use the 5-element emotional chart. And that is using like the elements of like fire, wood, water, metal, earth. And then it goes down to the organs, which could be the liver, the small intestines. And then it breaks down to the emotion, which could be fear or despair or depression or whatever that may be. And it's amazing because a lot of times I'll ask, is it the animals? Do we need to know who it's from? A lot of times it is from the guardian, which is interesting. And then we just clear it. I do ask, do we need to know who it is, or did they acquire it? Maybe at what age? But usually with the animals, it just flows through them. It's the humans that it kind of gets a little stuck somewhere. And then I made clear on the mental and spiritual plane, which could be, it's interesting because a lot of sessions I've had recently with some rescue animals, they are calling in archangels. So Archangel Michael for protection, or, Archangel Gabriel that may be, to breathe life into new experiences or new relationships. It could be clearing visiting energies or EMF or Mayisms. I mean, it's different all the time, but it is so fascinating and amazing because it connects directly to that animal and to the guardian of the animal. So it's very, and it's amazing the difference, like all of a sudden when you're clearing the energy of the animal, it's felt throughout the household because as we know, energy, it's all time and space, right? So it just clears everything and everyone is lighter and they've shifted. And it's just kind of causes a harmonic, balance amongst them. And then when clearing the energy, I do put in the void, I do send unconditional love, peace, harmony, joy, so that way they're receiving that as well. And then at the end of the session, then I'll do Reiki. So I scan again the body and see, and if there's any like energy clusters that I'll break up, and then I'll just send that through and then seal them up with love and golden light. And the Reiki, brings calmness to the nervous system and to their whole overall body. So it just really varies.
I was going to say, I bet you do notice a difference with the animal owners after the animal has been worked on, because it's all connected, right? And a lot of the time they do take on the energy of their owners and vice versa. So that's really, really, really cool.
It is really fascinating. Yeah. Because in tuning into the animals, because I hear, see, and feel and everything. And I'll ask the animal, is it your energy? Is it your emotion? And most of the time, no, it's the guardian's emotion that they've absorbed or they've taken on. And then when you talk to the guardian, it's like, oh yes, I am carrying this fear, or I'm carrying a depression, or whatever the case that they may be carrying that they may not be aware of, but it's like, oh yes, a loved one did pass away, or I did lose my job, or I did get divorced, or whatever the situation may be. So it all goes hand in hand together.
I think you have multiple gifts and tools in your toolbox, because you've also taken remote viewing with me, and you're really good at it. You're really good at it, really good at it. And especially when it comes for missing animals, because like I said, for me, I just find their consciousness so much different than human beings, and their energy different. Like if an animal is in front of me, I can absolutely scan it and see where the energy is stuck, and then go in and kind of using my little nursing abilities, go in and check the bones and the circulatory system and all that and see where the clogs are. But if they're missing, it's like they don't know how to read a street sign. They don't know what neighborhood they're in, right? Whereas with a person, when I connect with them, I can actually look through their eyes, look around, see what street they're on, see what area they're in, right? How does that work for you? Because I know that you've got the animal communication thing, plus you do remote viewing with accuracy, you guys. So if anybody out there is missing an animal, definitely get in touch with Nina, because she's really good at it. But how does that come in? Does that come in as part of the whole, or does it kind of open up and you can see through their eyes? Like, what do you see when you're tracking a missing animal?
It's interesting because each animal's different, as we know. But a lot of times I see through their eyes. So I can see, like I had a missing animal like in Montana. So I live in North Carolina, which is completely across the United States, which I know is fascinating for some people that don't really get that you can do it remotely because we are all energy. But like I had, and this animal the dog had been missing for like 10 days, and she lived on the outskirts of like the national preserve, right? So it was all forest. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, so I tuned into the dog, and which the dog was showing me was like, it was it was a structure like a red barn or a shed. And I was being shown like the northwest corner, I can't remember now, northeast corner of a window, and it was coming in, and I was being shown dirt. So I was seeing it from the outs, like from an overview, like remote viewing, like, but then I was being shown through the eyes of the dog. So I had said I would send her just texts of these are the things that I'm getting, the visuals. I did send the dog Reiki, like kind of to burst some energy into the dog. And she had said that I was describing the property like 3 doors down.
Wow.
So of course she contacted all of her neighbors, and this had been like 10 days past, right? So she had already kind of been like, maybe the dog, was not coming home. And so she contacted the neighbor 3 doors down, and she said, can you please go and open up your shed? Because I have a feeling that I think that the dog's name was Louise, was maybe trapped in there. And she contacted, sure enough, the next day she texts me and she's like, oh my God, guess what? Louise is home. And she said, you described the structure that was 3 doors down. So it is amazing, but it is difficult because, as we know, it's only as good as what the animal is showing us at that time. And they travel quickly. They travel at night. They travel, and they can go above and over things and under things that we cannot. And there are things that we physically don't think is possible, but animals can do that. So it's only as good as what you're able to show them. And then, it is interesting when you can describe someone's neighborhood to a T, and, you're living in place totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a beauty of it, of remote viewing.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Well, and I do also, like, I tell the client to kind of, because as we know, we have an energetic cord from our heart. So I always tell the client to kind of, they can do this as well, to tap in, to connect, to have an open heart, and to connect their heart to their heart and visualize pulling the animal in, right? And I do also, like, I get some landmarks and I shine a spotlight on them, and I kind of show a path where that is, even though I don't really know where they are physically on this earth plane. Energetically, you just know that. And then I do dowsing with it as well. So I may say, if they're like, well, we just left at this, the dog was last seen at this home, and then I'll douse, is it within a mile distance? Is it 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, and it's usually pretty accurate as to the distance.
That's amazing.
So it is amazing. I mean, and you do it with people and animals.
So that's so much easier. Energetic signatures of people, but I do have to say there is one thing that's kind of in common, is that if the person is alive that I'm looking for, I will get blips of everywhere they're going, and then it's really hard to go, okay, am I looking at yesterday's dinner, or am I looking in 2 days from now and this is where I'm going to find them? That is a little bit hard because, as you know, doing remote viewing, it's a series of images that you get, right? And then you gotta sit there and put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure it all out. I definitely, if someone is alive and not staying in one spot and they're moving all over the place, then it's a lot harder. And I think that's why it's so hard for me to be able to do animals. And I get asked it all the time. So you guys, don't email me about your missing cat. Email me, and we'll get to how you can contact her after, towards the end of the interview. But what kind of animals do you communicate with? What kind have you successfully worked with so far?
I have worked with all kinds of animals. It was amazing. I had the opportunity to do a animal communication safari in South Africa. So it's this world-renowned woman, Anna Brettenbach, she is known on YouTube. You can look her up. She communicated with a Black Panther, and his name was Diablo.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. You worked with her?
Yes, yes. I had a 7-day animal communication workshop,
That's
which
an
was
honor.
phenomenal. I mean, tens of thousands of people apply, and there was only 12 of us in her workshop in South Africa. So
Wow.
it was just like I was supposed to be there, right? Divine,
Seen
divine
that
guidance.
interview. I've seen that interview with her and
Yeah,
Diablo, and I was blown away. And I think I just saw it like within the last month. So it's crazy that's really, really, really cool that you got to work with her because I was
yeah.
definitely, I think
It's
everyone was. 'Cause it was an interview where the camera people or whoever was interviewing her were skeptics. They were coming from a
yes,
skeptical perspective. And this was a panther that nobody could even get near,
right.
let alone sit and pet it or talk to it or anything like that. And by the end
Yeah,
of it, she had that
yeah,
thing permanently.
yes. And it
Yeah,
was
that
the
was,
name, like the name evidently he did not
yes.
like the name because it was Diablo, which
So
is a
dark.
dark, right,
Yes.
dark name. And now the name is Spirit, so they changed the name. And then she communicated that they didn't want anything from the animal because the animal had always, the humans wanted things from the animal. And so it's amazing just that slight shift or to be able to
Yes.
communicate is just it's just phenomenal and just amazing to be able to do that,
Yeah.
and I mean, and on that safari, we communicated with like baboons. I mean, we had this whole thing with baboons, which was amazing because they were tearing up the camp. It was a place called Swalu, which was absolutely a beautiful preserve that's, in the I can't pronounce it, desert. I mean, it's this private reserve and wow, I mean, oh my goodness, it was beautiful. But the baboons would come and they would take over the resort of the humans. And so we were tapped into the baboons to be like, okay, we're going to build another resort for you. And so y'all go there and allow the humans to stay here. And it was fascinating the messages that like I received, and the baboons were like, "Well, you built it, so why can't we use it? It's on our land, right? It's on our property, so this is our. You're coming into our habitat,
Fair
and
enough.
fair enough, right? Yeah, but it's phenomenal. But I've tuned into like cougars, a snake, tigers, lions, and then like of course dogs, horses, llamas, alpacas, ducks, goats, chickens. I mean, pretty much
Wow.
a lot. And it's just because you're tuning into a sentient being, so it's a soul. So it's
Yeah.
all time and space, right? And it's remotely done. So I of course I asked for permission. All this, you ask for permission first, and animals seem to be very, very happy to communicate. And
Wow.
it is very phenomenal because they all have their own personalities.
Yes.
And there's some are very funny, some are kind of very sarcastic, but they're sentient beings. So whether they're in this 4-legged meat suit, right, or our 2-legged one that we
Mhm.
speak verbally and they speak with different ways, it's all the same.
Well, and I think telepathy is our default language. Before language, because at some point language was invented, the letter
Right.
E, the letter G, all of that, it didn't exist at one point. So I
Right.
truly believe that, reading, writing, talking language, it has destroyed our innate ability for telepathy. And I think that's, how animals work. That's how we used to work. And I think that it's still wide open for us, for the people who know how to get out of this 3D mind and be able to
Right.
open that channel and tune in where everything is possible. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating
It
stuff.
it is fascinating. Well, I mean, and I know like even just with Bailey, he knows people that are coming before they come, or bears that are coming before they come.
Yes.
Like we were on a walk this morning at the Arboretum, and he could sense, that because there's a lot of black bears around here, and it's because I think we move into their habitat, right? So they're coming, they're in our habitat now because we've moved into theirs. But he'll all of a sudden, it's just like he gets this feeling. It's like coming behind me, like, oh my goodness, something's around. And then,
Mhm.
I'm looking around and seeing what I see. And then sure enough, I see this black. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I just like clap, and there's this little head that pokes up, and it's a little black bear. So cute and so adorable because, I think that
So
we
deadly.
could all communicate together, right? But then you don't know if the mom and the mom is there either.
Oh my goodness.
So, but they know, right? They intuitively can do hundreds of feet or however. Yeah, they know what's ahead or behind or wherever it is, but what's in their field.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
due to telepathy.
and it's just like with birds. Like birds fly along the magnetic grid that's around the earth. And that's why, like, if we mess with the frequencies, with all this 5G stuff, 6G, all of that, that's when we're seeing the birds migrating in a different pattern or literally falling out of the sky and dropping dead. I've
That's
seen
crazy.
videos of that. Yeah, yeah, where that's happened. And I think it's literally because it throws them off. They
Yeah,
do fly along that
right.
magnetic grid, right?
Yeah,
So, and
yeah.
that's
It is
something that
because
we can't understand.
no, but it is the frequency, right? It is the vibration that they're feeling. So
Yeah.
when that's out of whack, of course I mean, they're going to be out of whack, right? It's just like us too. If we're vibrating at a different frequency or like, you and I chatting because I think that we're on this, right? On a high frequency. But when you're chatting with someone that's not really of a lower frequency, there's like, it's very, it's fuzzy, right? And so you're kind of out of whack. You feel it like the birds feel it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, look at how animals react before a tornado or before
Yes.
something big, like an earthquake happens, right? One thing that I learned, so last summer I tracked down my family, my mom's side of the family in Dublin, Ireland, and I went out there. And I have to say, I've got brilliant, amazing cousins that it was, we were two peas in a pod very quickly. You could totally tell that we're family. Anyways, my one cousin Fran taught me that he goes, "You see the cows over there?" He goes, "It's going to be raining here in about an hour." He says, "The cows, when they lay down together in a field, it's going to rain." And I'm like, oh my goodness, such a simple observation, but it's true. And now in Calgary, because I live in Calgary, Alberta, and it doesn't rain all the time here like it does in Ireland, right? They
Right.
must the cows out there must be a real fat laying on the floor all the time because it rains nonstop in Ireland. But out here it doesn't. And so even on my way to camping the other weekend, I noticed the cows all laying down in the fields. I said to my husband, I said, "I bet you it's going to rain. It's going to rain here right quick." And it did. It poured. So it's really interesting how they can feel that, I don't know what barometric, I
Right.
guess,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
and they know, to kind of hunker down or stay warm. My cousin said it's because they're huddled together, they're staying warm, and he goes, "You'll notice they usually do it at the low points of the field, or yeah, towards a low point, because I guess it shelters them a little bit." But it's like,
Right.
because it's interesting. We think cows are not that intelligent, or I don't know. I didn't realize how intelligent they are, but it's interesting to see how each species has definitely, high intelligence and connection to something greater
Yes.
than
Yeah.
itself, right?
Oh yeah.
Even look at ants and bees. How
Yeah.
do they know what to do? How do they know what to do?
Right. It's really phenomenal. Yes. I
Yes.
mean, they all resonate. I think that whatever frequency they're resonating at, and they know exactly where it is that, like the bees, where the queen bee is, and the hive that they all go to, or the ants. It's the same. I mean, it's fascinating when, like, being in nature, which I'm a huge component of getting into nature, of always in nature, because you do see, I mean, yeah, it's just fascinating, all the animals and what you see in nature.
Yeah, totally. Totally. The behaviors, the energy, all of it.
Yeah.
Can't watch anything hurting another animal. Like my husband watches those nature shows where it's like a tiger hunting its prey and stuff. I'm like, I can't, I can't. When
Oh,
I
I
watch
can't
something get
either.
hurt, I'm the type that will even take the glass and the piece of paper to go get the spider and leave it out.
Me
Oh,
too.
I'll
Me
tell you
too.
a story.
Is
So
that true?
I annoyed the crap out of my husband about 2 weeks ago. He was doing gardening. And he rips out this big long worm out of the dirt, and he's like, "Look at this ugly thing," and he chucks it onto the road. And I went, "Ugh." I'm like, "What did it do to you? You just gave it a death sentence. It's a hot cement you just put it on." I'm like, "Go pick up that worm and
Right.
murder this one." He looked at me like I was crazy, out of my mind, crazy.
I'm with
And
you.
so I'm like, "I'm not touching it because it's not my problem. I didn't do it. I didn't take it from its nest, and I'm not doing it. Ew."
No.
So every 30 seconds, did you pick up the worm yet? Did you pick up the worm? I'm watching it. I said, I'm watching it slowly fry to death. You better go pick up that worm. After about finally 5 minutes later, he goes, picks up the worm and puts it back in there. I'm like, now I can rest. And I walked
Right.
in the house and I left him to do the gardening. I was like, I can't stand to see anything insect. It's like, we are the ones that are encroaching on their territory. It didn't ask to be ripped out of that nice warm soil it was in, to go fry on the cement. So yeah, my husband got one of these, from me, but
Yeah. It is. I can't watch that either because it's just, but it is amazing. Like when I was in South Africa for this animal communication safari, it is amazing though, because there's another guy, James Kidd, who was very well known for documenting black snow leopards. And they talk about how, animals are all about the circle of life. So they don't fear death like we do, right? So they know about the circle of life. And when you see the animals chasing each other, like on the preserve or wherever, they know, and they actually bow their heads to the other one when they have yeah. So it's kind of like they have succumbed to the other predator and they bow their heads. He's like, okay. And so because it's the circle of life, right? It's a dance that they have. And so in one aspect, you kind of are easier feeling about it all, but it's still hard because it still pulls on our heartstrings, and to see all that is very hard. But, they don't look at life as we look at it, because it's a whole continuous life cycle as compared to us here. And we're, we don't look at, or we're not taught to look at life in that aspect that way.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
But it is, I mean, I can't it pulls at my heartstrings to see anything like that with animals or anything, and I think that's why there's so many, it's funny because I was having a conversation with someone and we were talking about, that's why we think that there's so many like rescue animals and there's so many things like that, because it's teaching, the animals are here to teach us compassion, right?
Yes.
And to open up our hearts and to give us unconditional love. And once our whole nation starts to have all that, then possibly there'll be less animals that need to be rescued or anything that goes on with that. But it's hard to see, and it's, which is why I like being a voice for the animals and trying to assist them and helping them out is very rewarding, just on the soul level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I gotta say, because this is going through my head right now of possibly people watching this and going, well, Patricia, are you a vegetarian? No, I'm not. I'm from Alberta. I am from Alberta and we like our steak. So let me explain that one though. I found a very ethical way. I do not ever buy meat from Walmart or Co-op or Safeway. I don't buy my meat there. So let me tell you what I do. So, and if anyone's in Alberta and you want Dee Dee's number or email me and I'll send it to you, because she is the most ethical rancher I've ever met in my life. So get a load of this. This lady knows Reiki. She's a Reiki master. I went to her farm actually when I first started buying beef from her. She's a cattle rancher and the most softest, beautiful soul I've ever met. And I think it's 3 or 4, possibly even 5 generational farm. And she takes care of the whole thing, her and her almost 90-year-old mother. And so what she does, and I was there, she literally will whistle and her cows come running. She's got them all trained like puppies. It's insane. It's insane. So what she does is before my cow goes to slaughter, she sends me a picture of my cow so that I can connect with the energy of my cow, thank it for giving its life for me. It literally is giving its life to feed myself and my family. Like that was the whole purpose of its life. So I connect with the energy of the animal and I thank it for what it's doing for me and my family, and bless it to my body. And then after that, it goes to slaughter and it ends up on my table. And I got to tell you, best meat I've ever tried in my life, best meat I've ever had. But it feels good. I told her, I said, you need to change your name to Blessed Beef, because that's what she does. Blesses it. She blesses it. And I just think there's ethical ways to treat animals. for people who aren't vegetarians.
Right.
And so there's no way I would buy my beef from anybody else. There's just
No.
no way.
Mm-mm. No.
So,
No,
and
because that's, yeah.
I was going to say, I really do encourage people to use their local cattle ranchers or their local farmers because, God, it's kind of crazy what the government is doing there, but that's a whole other
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah, we
trying to
won't
push,
even go into that.
yeah, I think there's an agenda behind that. But
Oh, there's a total agenda behind that, right? And we won't go down that road. Well, yeah, no.
But for the people who can, eat their meat, connect with the animal that gave its life for you,
Right.
and bless it to your body. And I think that that's a beautiful way to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's
So
funny,
I love.
interesting. Work. Oh, yes. Sorry. Oh,
Oh
I've
no,
worked, oh, I've
I
worked
live a
with a,
lifetime there.
yeah, I know. I have worked with a shaman out. She's out west, and I've worked with a shaman. She's in Montana, and it's amazing because she eats meat, and when we go to these shamanic like weekends or the workshops that she has, and everything is clean, but she does have like bison or and what it is basically it's the same thing as she's getting it from probably a local rancher and who has basically sent Reiki or have given gratitude to it. And it's all in like a ceremonial way that they do that with the animal. And then we give gratitude to that when you go to eat. But it's, as she likes to say, it's the circle of life,
Yes.
and that is their purpose, is to assist or feed the humans. We don't need it as much as what we
Yeah.
did back then, but it is a whole, because of her being a shaman, it is a whole ceremony that she does. And
Wow.
it is a very beautiful thing, and it's very sacred. So,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of people that you do, especially like they say with your blood type, or sometimes, I mean, I was a vegetarian for like 16 years
Wow.
because everything that well, yeah, it doesn't matter. I saw some things and then I was like, nope, can't do that. And,
Wow.
and I was vegetarian and I didn't eat anything that had a mother. So it was before people were vegan and all, it was a long way before that. Right.
Yeah.
But it was interesting though, because I used to run a lot, and being a runner, they were like, okay, you're low on iron, you're low on this, and you really kind of need to start eating meat.
Hmm.
And so I kind of would eat meat here and there just because of that. But our bodies do sometimes, need the nourishment from it.
The protein. And it's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that because I can see auras, I can see energy around people. And one thing that I've noticed, and I'm going to be very honest, I'm not trying to insult any vegetarians or anything, and I hope you guys are doing it right if you are a vegetarian. But like I would say almost every single vegetarian that I've ever seen, they have a wispiness in their auric field. It's not solid. It's not it's see-through almost.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that a lot of people, and convenience and all of that stuff, they're maybe not measuring how much protein or iron they should be having in their diet.
Right.
And that's what creates that low iron. And low iron is actually part of your auric shield. You need it in order to have that shield. It's a
Okay.
metal. It's grounding. It's protecting. I don't know how else to explain that, but
Yeah.
when people are low in iron, yeah, their shield looks really, really wispy, and I can tell. I was like, oh, when was the last time you ate meat? You know? So yeah, I do. I think our bodies need it, but I mean, if there are people there that can do it, where they're not looking sickly or gray, or and their field isn't low. If you're doing your stuff right, I'm sure you can do it and be healthy. But yeah, the ones that I've seen, they just looked really wispy to me. Not so,
Wow. That's interesting. But it makes sense. I mean, it is all, like, as we were saying earlier, everything is interconnected, and we're all here to assist each other because we are all one. So however that looks, you should move forward with that. But whatever resonates with you as, a soul being.
absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know.
absolutely no judgment to anybody. I'm just explaining what I see.
Right.
Because I'm just not one for cruelty in any way,
No,
shape, or form. I
no.
just want to make the
Mm-mm.
world a better place. And I think, animal therapy is such a beautiful, beautiful way to amplify your gifts, Nina, because it's something like we need them. We need them. I think I'd be lost without my two little Pomeranians. And there's
Oh,
some people, you look at their pets and really that's their only source of love.
yes.
People who are single for a long period of time. I know for even one of my boys, his cats got him through the pandemic because he was single through that time. And it's like, I could only imagine, we definitely need that unconditional source of love coming from them. So beautiful that you give back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and you figure out, yes, during the past 4 years, all the people that were, we were locked down or whatever, and our animals gave us, I mean, they gave us life. They gave us that love. They gave us all of that connection and contact that I think a lot of people were missing,
Yeah.
and so they do come into our homes, like, as a lot of them are domesticated, but they come in and they give us that, they make us laugh. I mean, he makes me laugh all the time. And at times when I'm in my head, and it's amazing because they give you signs. It's like, get out of your head. He'll start pawing. Like, he'll be like, okay, or start sitting in my lap. And it's like, get off the phone, get off your laptop, get out of your head. Let's go play, and they give you those signs, or they tell you, they know, like, because they tune into us all the time,
Yeah.
and I know he makes me very present, and just, I laugh all the time because of him. Which is, it's so much joy that our animals bring us. It really is. You know,
Yeah. That is wonderful. Do
yeah.
you, do you do any sort of like do you do medical intuition with animals? Like, can you tell if there's something wrong in them?
I have taken a medical intuitive workshop. It is interesting. Oh, that's interesting. My thumb.
Really weird because
I haven't touched
I wonder if
anything.
that's going to show up in the. I wonder if that's going to show up in the video. But
That,
I know that Zoom. I've seen that a couple times. I have no idea what triggers it, what does that. Nothing, but it's bizarre. I have to look in my settings and
yeah,
see.
that's crazy. Yeah, I think just moving, I don't know why. It's energetically that it's.
Or
But
do you think thumbs up?
that's right. But I have taken like some medical intuitive workshops. There we go, the thumbs up again. For animals, and doing Reiki or just scanning their body. Like, a lot of times I can body map, so I feel aches and pains of the animal, and I can see into, like, there was one horse that I had tuned into, and the guardian was saying that the horse wasn't, whatever she was saying, like, the horse wasn't really itself and it wasn't shedding. But as I was tuning in, I was getting like there was something wrong with the blood and something this, and that she needed to go see a vet. Well, it turned out, the animal had Cushing's, which is a very serious illness for horses. So thankfully she did listen to that. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I will say. Sometimes I've had sessions with animals that all of a sudden I get extremely nauseous, or that I get an earache, or my right hip is,
Yeah.
hit, and like, and all of a sudden they may be like, oh, well, the dog was hit by a car before we rescued it, and that's why, the right hip is a little out of whack. Or, yes, the dog just came back from the vet because it had an ear infection. So
Mhm.
I do get sensations in my body, and so I do feel those aches and pains from the animal. And then also, like, scanning the body, I can see various things as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, but it is interesting also, though, because you can relay that to the guardian. However, it just depends upon what they do with that information.
Yeah. Very true.
So, but energetically, it's nice to be able to clear it on an energetic level, because I believe that's where everything starts.
Yeah.
So if we're able to clear it on the energetic level, hopefully then we can clear that into this physical realm, and then assist them that way as well. And
Yeah.
hopefully not be able to have those things put into their bodies that are not good from the vet.
No doubt. Yeah, my dogs have never been separated since they were born, other than to get fixed when that happened. And yeah, it scares me to think if one passed away, what the other one would be like, because they're brother and sister. They even came over to Canada together in a crate. So it's yeah,
Oh, how old are they?
9. They just turned 9
Oh,
and yeah.
but they've got some years still left to go.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm hoping
Yeah.
so. Leo, though, our boy dog, he had a bunch of teeth removed. last about 3 months ago, and so that was unnerving. I forgot about that. That was the second time that they had been apart, but we took Karma with us, like right to the vets.
Oh, right. Yes. So that they're still together. Yeah.
They were still
It's
together through the whole thing.
it's interesting because I was just talking to my mom about this. Like little dogs have a lot of teeth issues. They always have to have their teeth extracted. And teeth can cause a lot of disease in the body if you do not if you don't address it. And big dogs, so they don't. I mean, I've had mostly big dogs. Well, I've had all big dogs, and never had any issues with their teeth. But little ones always seem to have.
Yes.
Yeah, their teeth need to be extracted.
Yeah, and it happened to me too, and I'm worried about that because from what I understand, every single nerve in your body ends up in your teeth in here, so it can cause a whole myriad of issues if you have to have teeth removed. And I remember with Hemi, he kind of went downhill after we pulled out his teeth. So I'm praying that they're going to be okay because they're my little loves, and
We will send them lots of love and lots of healing love for them that they're okay. So yes, that's fine. And they have you as their mother, so you know what? You live in a high vibration and know what to do with them. So, and as we know, when it's time for them to transition, then it's time for them to go.
Yeah, their mission is done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they know when they're gonna die? Do you think they do? Because Hemi cried when we had to go put him down. His whole back end gave out from underneath him at one point. It's like, oh my God, I couldn't, watch him suffer anymore. So we had to put him down. But as we were putting him down, we gave him, the king of dinners with the cheeseburgers and everything. We did all that. But he looked at me like he knew. And there was this one single tear that went down his face, and I'll never forget that. Yeah.
I think they, and many of the courses I've taken and just communicating with the animals as well, they know, like I think us as souls as well, we know our exit strategy, right? There may be many exit points that we could go, but they know. I had a session, which was a session with a girl it was very tragic because she was on vacation and the dog, she went to go pick up the dog the night when they got in, but the people that were keeping, I was like, no, we'll keep the dog for night. And then they let the dog out the front door instead of the back door that was fenced in the back. And the dog went out the front and got very disoriented when tuning in. But it was time for the dog to go. So it was a very tragic exit. And of course, she blamed herself, but it was like in tuning into the dog, it was like, it was time. Because it also, I was seeing that down the road, the dog was going to have there was a blood issue that was going to have. So it was going to be much more strenuous on the guardian. And so this was easy for them and they also need like that force to jet their their spirit out of the body. So, but they know, and they kind of plan it, and so when their mission is done, what it is that they need to do on this earth plane with their guardian, then it's time for them to move on. And they just look at it as like it's their circle of life.
To me, I see it as almost like they jump from this side right over to the other side. And yes, you guys, there are animals in heaven. I've seen deceased animals around loved ones. I can tell even right down to the color and size and what type of dog or cat, whatever. They come through. They do. They totally come through. So I know that they have spirits too. It makes you wonder about the spirit of an ant. That's why it's like I can't even kill an ant. Because really, I do believe we are all sentient. It's just at completely different levels, right? So
it is like when I was in South Africa doing this, we were like, because there's trackers, right? So they're from birth, they learn how to track the paw prints, the energy, and they're very tuned in to so much more so than what we are. But they're tuned in, intuitively. They are telepathically. They tune in with everything in their fields, right? From hearing, seeing, knowing, and all. And we did this exercise that you had to track what it is. So you tuned in, and it was like this little dot in the ground. Oh my goodness, Patricia, it was amazing though, because all of a sudden, so as I was tuning in, you don't know what animal it is, what it's from. You have no earthly idea. They're just like, here this is. We want you to track it and tune in to see what you get. Oh my goodness. So I was sitting there and meditating and tuning in, and all of a sudden I felt like it was like I had vertigo or something, that I was like going around, and it was like I was holding myself down, and I was like sitting on the ground. It was crazy. So
Wow.
after the fact, when it was over, then we all kind of came back and said what we received, what messages what information we received. And I was saying that she said, oh, yes, of course, you felt the vibration of the earth because you were like an ant. It wasn't an ant, but it was basically a little dune bug or something. I can't remember.
Hey.
And so she was like, you were feeling the vibration of all the animals around it. So of course you were going like this and you couldn't feel it. And she was like, okay, you need to make sure you're back in your body and just kind of, yeah, get very grounded and centered, because you were feeling the vibration of the actual. So it was similar to an ant, which was kind of phenomenal, like you saying that, and yeah, that experience. But yeah, I mean, they're all sentient beings. So whether they're this little or, that big, yeah,
Yeah, it's all a vessel.
it,
Absolutely.
it is. So we can tune into them.
That's fascinating that you took that training. That
Oh
is
yeah.
so amazing. How long
Yeah.
was that? You said it was a week?
It was only 7 days. So, but it was a full 7 days. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really phenomenal. And it was very, and meeting people all over the world, and they were all animal
Yeah.
communicators or stepping into it. And so it was a fascinating experience. And to be able to do that with her was just phenomenal.
Out. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I've seen stuff on her before and she's
Yeah,
amazing.
she's amazing. Yeah, and so it's kind of like, okay, definitely stepping into the soul mission. Yes, that's everything's, it all aligns, right? When you're in alignment with soul. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, how can people get a hold of you? How can they book sessions for you?
That would be
You don't just do missing animals. You
no,
do
I do.
healing and communication and so much more. Clearing
Yeah,
energy, all of it. But
yeah.
okay, actually, before answering how they get a hold of you, how do you do a session? Is it all on Zoom? Is it in person?
So mostly it's all on Zoom. Like I have clients all over the world, all over, because it's all on Zoom, because it's remotely, right? We can tap into all time and space.
Yeah.
I have done a few sessions in person, and it's amazing. The session is not as clear because you have the energy of the guardian. If I go to the house, you have the energy in the house. You
Mhm.
have a lot of other stuff going on, so it is much more clearer. And tuning into the animal, you get clearer messages, and the information flows easier when it is on Zoom, or sometimes when I just do remote sessions for just clearing of the energy. I will do a voice recording, but it's just very clear. And, I do sessions for if the animals get ready to transition, are they ready? Is there anything the guardian can do to ease the transition, or if they're traveling too much, or how does the animal feeling, how are they adjusting to their new home, or what experiences they had prior, or I mean, there's all kinds of things. Why are they not eating? Do they like that food? Is there something they need in their diet? Or why are they barking? I mean, there's so many. I mean, we could go on and on and on and talk. But,
Yeah.
it's like if you have a question, if you want to ask your animal that question, I mean, pretty much that's why you would come and book a session, because I can tap in and tune in to the animal and find out and assist them in all different ways. And there's also so many different ways, like clearing energy, using Bach flower essences, EFT tapping, which is using as a surrogate. So like when they're fearful of thunderstorms, or, I mean, there's all kinds of things and ways. So yeah.
Wow. And then do you need to be able to see them, like a picture of them, or
I mean, I don't really need to see a picture. It's helpful. I mean, the animal will show me what they view themselves as. And I
oh,
mean, pretty much usually it's pretty amazing though, because like I was doing a session earlier, and it was like, okay, the animal is showing me as a shepherd. It's white and black, and I don't really didn't know what the animal was. I knew it was a
yeah.
dog, and it was the name. And so they were showing me kept showing me as a shepherd and kind of like a wolf. And it turns out, and after the session, I was asking her what kind of animal. She's like, oh, we think it's part German shepherd, part this. So the animal was showing me what they look like. But sometimes the animal may show themselves as like, it could be a little dog and they show themselves as like this big lion or something, because that's how they view themselves. But a picture is helpful, but I don't need a picture. I just need their name and the breed, and if they're living or deceased, if they're in spirit. And then I can just tap in and get whatever, ask whatever questions they have. Or just get whatever information that may come through.
Yeah.
So,
do people see a difference in as little as one session?
yes, energy healing. Yes, they will. They can. They can see. And it's interesting because a lot of people are like, how often should I have an energy clearing session? And that really just depends upon the animal and them, and and maybe they don't need another one. And maybe they can do it themselves, right? It'd be great if the humans can just tap in and be like, because I always tell the humans, I was like, you can do this yourself, because we're all capable.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, just sit, be quiet, just sit and see what comes in. Ask the animal what it is that you'd like to know, and then see what comes through. You may hear something, you may feel something, you may see something, and just trust it.
Yes, I agree. Trusting in that's the biggest part.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trusting is very key, very important.
Yes, very much so. So how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, yes. So it's all with my name, Nina Roberti, which is NinaRuberti.com. I'm on YouTube at Nina Roberti, and Instagram and Facebook is Nina Roberti. So yes, please. I would appreciate any subscribers, all sessions, or anything to assist you and your animal in moving forward in a loving, healthy relationship. I mean, it just deepens. It's amazing. It just deepens their relationship with the animal to be able to communicate with them.
That's absolutely amazing. And I can definitely attest to Nina's remote viewing. I don't know why that was hard to spit out, but to your remote viewing, your accuracy was bang on with the stuff that we worked on. So you're wonderful. So if anyone's got a missing animal or hurt pet, definitely give her a call. Well, I thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful to be able to connect with you. And Bailey just out cold for the whole session. I love it.
I was hoping that maybe you'd see a little more from him, but
no, it's nap time.
Yes, it is. But I am so grateful for being here. So thank you so much for having me on your channel. I appreciate it. Yes.
Absolutely. And thank you guys, everybody, for watching out in YouTube land. And if anybody would like to book an appointment with me, my website is www.patriciamonna.com. I do have my psychic awareness retreat coming up in September. So if you want to join me in sunny Sedona, Arizona, definitely come. Nina, you're coming, aren't you?
Yes, I'm coming. I'm so excited.
Let me tell you in person and show you this place. We do so much on this retreat. I take you to all the vortexes. We do everything. We have campfires every night. We're going to be having our coffee and our pancakes out on the lanai in the morning, having our breakfast. Oh yeah, girl. It's a week it's a week to remember. So I'm so glad that you're coming with me.
Yes, I'm so excited. And then to meet you in person.
Yes, I can't wait. So there's literally only 3 spots left at the retreat. So we'll see who the universe is bringing into the sisterhood. And Bailey. He's just rolling his eyes. Like, what do you want? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. There's a good shot. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And, join me next time. We'll see you later. Take care, guys. Bye for now.